Just kidding, guys. Yeah, this week we're checking out Billy the Kid, The Endless Ride by Michael Wallis. So this is one of the newer biography type books about Billy the Kid that we will check out before our release of our documentary. And I gotta say, it was a fascinating read, start to finish. Now, what a lot of people probably will say or maybe take away in a negative fashion is that, yeah, it doesn't really go too in depth in things that maybe we didn't know about Billy the Kid. But it does go in a lot about building the environment, like building up what the towns were like, the political aura, the people, what they might have been thinking, and it builds up more of Billy's Billy days, like when he was still Henry McCarty. Was he in New York? Was he in Indiana? He lived a little bit in Denver, perhaps, according to his brother. Obviously, their time in Santa Fe. So I thought that was the part that really got me and the part that I really enjoyed. So this book definitely has to be thanked for a future episode that we will do for later in the year. And that is an episode on Joseph McCarty, Billy's brother. And like I touched upon it earlier, yeah, it does like to build upon the stuff that maybe aren't talked about as much. Maybe not Billy's part, but when it talks about his brother, there was a lot of cool stuff in there. Where you might hear from different documentaries or other books, we really don't know where Billy's brother went. But you read from here, and it actually can lead you down quite the rabbit hole about Joseph McCarty in Denver. They don't know where his body is. Obviously, you can't go visit his headstone or grave anywhere because his body was donated to science somewhere in Colorado. But like I said, we are going to go into more of a history in Joseph McCarty, so this book definitely is a reason why. I just thought it was really fascinating how much we were able to find and how much of it is in our own backyard of Colorado. So yeah, not only are we going to do a Billy the Kid documentary, but let's do a little episode on his brother, because it's quite fascinating, in Telluride, Telluride, right? And Denver, and that's where he gave actually some of his interviews and stuff like that. Denver Post, there's a picture of him which we'll go into more depth once we look at the book itself. But that was definitely one of the cool things. And then like building the aura of New Mexico to be a Lincoln, Silver City, it just really made it seem kind of dirty and grimy and lived in, and it was really cool because it wasn't that like pristine Western I think a lot of people might picture in their heads, and that really gave it the life. Like, it wasn't just, okay, here's this legendary outlaw, but here's the world around him. Here's what maybe molded him into, I mean, not maybe, but definitely molded Billy into what he became, or Henry into William Bonney, into Billy. And so if those are 2 points I took away from this book, it's, yeah, we definitely got to do an episode on Joseph McCarty, and we got to do more detail we can add in about Lincoln, about New Mexico, about Santa Fe. Some of the players and places, Pat Garrett, Lew Wallace, those people we know about, but to dig up more on his dad, on some of the people he grew up with, I thought was fascinating. It doesn't really go one way or the other as far as like Billy's a hero or Billy's, this bloodthirsty villain or something like that. But it definitely tries to stay kind of down the straight and narrow, I would say, just down that line, teetering between both, I suppose, is what you would say. But I thought it was really good. Like I did say earlier, if you really want to know more about just the kid himself, maybe it's not the book for you. Just because, yeah, it does touch upon Billy, but a lot of the stuff you know about Billy's last 10, 15 pages, perhaps. And a lot of it is building that aura up. But I definitely think this is going to come in a lot of handy as far as our research goes, so I'm really happy to have said we read it, and it's part of our collection. So as you can see, the cover has that, Billy the Kid tintype picture, because it's the only authenticated, 100% authenticated Billy picture. So that's usually, if you're going to see a Billy picture, it's going to be that. The side just says Billy the Kid, The Endless Ride, gives the author's name. I really like just the color of the cover, really nice. The back is a nice like tan. Obviously, Billy the Kid, The Endless Ride. Some different praise. Another little picture at the bottom. If you want the ISBN, there you go. This one does have obviously the cover, so it has a little bit insert as far as some more information on the book, as well as some information on Michael Wallis. So if you're picking this up, especially if you're looking at it at like on a Goodreads, it's going to say like something like 352. might seem kind of daunting, even if you look at the book itself. It's a thicker of a book at 328, but it's really not. A lot of that is actually, I think there's about 100 pages, almost 100 pages of notes. The actual book ends at 250. Throughout it, there's also pictures at the beginning of each chapter, be it like there's a reward. At one point, there was a picture of Lew Wallace. There's the McSween writing. McSween actually wrote a note the day he died. There's a picture of the house, there's a picture of the authentic life of Billy the Kid book. So, there is pictures throughout, usually obviously pertaining to what you're about to read. There's obviously the picture of the gun on the back, because that's the gun that killed Billy the Kid. It doesn't start off with a picture of Billy, but rather a nice western landscape, as well as Billy the Kid, the endless ride. About midway when you're reading this, there's going to be this collection of pictures. Obviously, you can see like Life of Billy the Kid by Pat Garrett. There's a picture of Pat Garrett himself. There's Paulita Maxwell, the Maxwell house, some letters, and different players and stuff. There's Sheriff Brady, obviously the one that really kicked off the regulators, There's Dolan, and as well as Bob Ollinger. Hello, Bob. There's Tunstall. So it definitely shows, all the players that you read throughout. There's Dick Brewer, the original leader of the regulators. There's the house. There's Beaudry and his wife. There's a Folliard. And there's Billy's brother, Joseph McCarty Antrim. So this is, like it says, only existing a photo by the Denver Post on April Fool's Day 1928. I definitely think we'll go into a episode about him at some point. So this chapter, which obviously shows a picture of Laramie Street, which will take you down there, definitely does not look like that now. But yeah, I just thought it was really cool to learn more about his brother, because a lot of times people say he just vanished. So to find actual evidence where you could research, find it, and be able to perhaps do an episode on him, that was the highlight of reading this. And there's a lot of good about reading this. A lot of times it does build up the environment that is molding the kid throughout his life. But yeah, that part about Joseph McCarty Antrim, really, really cool. So overall, what would I rate this book? And this is a little bit harder of one, because the beginning, I would have rated it a 9 out of 10. A lot of the stuff about his brother, I was digging into the history. Then there were some parts in the middle that was just it's diverting perhaps a little too much. But then there was definitely parts where it kind of brought it back together, especially towards the end. If you want to know more about Billy, it might be lower rated than what I will rate it. But I do think at the end it brought it back together. It doesn't go into any conspiracies. It definitely ends when Billy is shot and killed by Pat Garrett at the Maxwell house. So yeah, if you're looking for conspiracies, again, not your book. If you're looking for perhaps really in-depth information on Billy, perhaps not your book. But if you're looking to see more of the historical Billy and the history about the land, the people, the environment that built Billy up, definitely the book for you. I'm going to rate it an 8.3 out of 10. I really do think it was really fascinating. Like I said at the beginning, if the whole book had stayed kind of where the beginning was, probably a 9.0. But it did dip in the middle, but it stayed really strong, kept me fascinated. I always look forward to reading it. And so that's why it's one of our higher rated books, especially one of our higher rated Billy the Kid books. So I give it an 8.3 out of 10. Really fascinating and definitely worth the pickup. But if you want to see more book reviews, including more about Billy the Kid, click that link to your left. If you want to see more of what we do here at Culz Paranormal, click that link to your right. And don't forget to hit that like and give us a subscribe. And let us know, are you interested in learning more about Joseph McCarty?